Good morning, everyone. I am Stacy Bucas of Quintessence. I am thrilled to be here today with you speaking for Discover ADAC. And I wanted to thank, before we get started with my chat with Eric Goujou of La Tuileries about the art of the table, I wanted to thank our sponsors today, Pierre Frey at Jim Thompson in ADAC. And I believe we have a little message from Pierre Frey before we start the presentation.
Greetings from Paris, from our Royal showroom showing our new collection of furniture. Thank you to the Atlanta design community and thank you to ADAC for organizing this exciting market. Pierre Frey is very honored to sponsor the next presentation with two very talented people. Both Eric Goujou and Stacy Bucas understand very well the essence of l'art de vivre. We share their appreciation of beauty, quality, and craftsmanship. Thank you for joining us. You're in for a real treat.
Okay, so I am thrilled today to be here with my dear friend, Eric Goujou, the owner of La Tuileries, an exceptional shop in the 5th arrondissement of Paris. I'm sure there are many fans who are already fans of Eric's watching. And I wanted to say hello to Eric.
Hello, Stacy. How are you?
Paris. Eric, along with Pierre Frey, represents so many things I love in the world of design. Fine craftsmanship, French l'art de vivre, artisanal work, and the finest craftsmanship. So I'd like to get started with this beautiful table that Eric prepared in his shop with a beautiful, I believe, braconnier in the background, yes?
Yes, indeed, it is a braconnier.
And Eric, why don't you tell us a little bit, first I want to show a little video of the shop that Eric prepared for us, and then we'll come back and chat more about the shop.
Wonderful.
How beautiful was that?
Thank
Eric,
you.
why don't you tell a little history about when you took over La Tuileries, because of course the shop had existed for many years and you were in a completely different industry.
Yes.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about the background of your taking over the shop?
Well, I came from the bank industry, and when I moved to this part of the city in Paris, in the 5th, and I used to come here to shop when I was setting up. And I decided at some point I was tired of what I was doing at work, and I wanted something different. And I knew that deep down I wanted to do something that would be in the arts, in the art world, something that would use my creativity. And well, I heard through someone else that the previous owner were looking for someone to take over. So long story short, it worked. And 3 months later, I was the owner of La Tuileries. That was in November 2006.
So quite a while ago. And then this is what the shop used to look like.
Yes, no, yes, this is exactly what the shop used to look like. Yes. Uh-huh.
And the interior, the old
The
interior.
interior, it was crammed with pottery everywhere, and it was very difficult. I still hear customers complaining about back then when they were visiting, they didn't know where to look, and also they were worried about breaking something that they would not be able to bring back home, even though they would have to pay for it. So it was quite of, and then a lot of my Saturdays were spent in this store looking around. Oh, this is in 2015 when in 14, sorry, when I renovated the store. That's the new look of the store, yes.
And of course shows how dapper you are and interested in all aspects of style.
Thank you for saying that. That's it.
Those of you who follow Eric on Instagram, and anyone who doesn't should, at La Tuileries, will see Eric in all of his glory. And here's the beautiful shop now, a much, much more beautiful presentation, I have to say.
Thank you. Oh.
And now you can see all the beginning of the major temptations in the store. And I have to give full disclosure that I am a complete addict of La Tuileries. And that looks very much like my platter in that bottom left.
Indeed, I was about to say, it looks like your platter, indeed. And I remember that platter right here.
Exactly. It's a treasure trove, La Tuileries. And let's move on to talk about the artisans, because this is one of the things that makes La Tuileries so very special. So let me preface this by saying that Eric presents primarily ceramics, but other things we'll talk about later, from artisans all over France and only France. And he travels all over the country finding what he loves and he thinks his customers would love, and that represents the artisanship of made in France of the highest quality. So why don't you talk about, I'm sure you inherited a few of these artisans from the previous owners, but how do you go about finding artisans and who you want to carry in the shop?
Well, I think La Tuileries has a very distinctive selection already. And when I took over, the story was already there. We had customers coming from all over the country. I actually had to learn a little bit from customers too, because they knew what they were looking for. And coming into that world, it was all about keeping that same level of quality. And there's a kind of pottery that you can find at La Tuileries and some other pottery that, even though they would be very beautiful, it doesn't look like something from La Tuileries. It's the heritage of the pottery you find that La Tuileries came from folk art tradition in France. So there's something about the earthiness and the colors, and then the whimsical side of it, of everything that made this pottery into something which is really unique. That's what I'm looking for when I visit artisans. Here, for example, in Burgundy, that's one of the places where I get to go every now and then. It could be, I go to that part of the country a couple of times every year to visit the artisans who live in different part of that area. When they have a kiln opening, I'll go for the kiln take and to select the pieces that will be coming out and see the ones that I feel like they have that quality that we expect at La Tuileries, the quality that was already there when I took over. Here, for example, that's a kiln opening. They unload the kiln, then we look through. Sometimes you would have something which is very beautiful, but somehow it's a little bit wobbly, so you cannot really use it. And that's when it is heartbreaking. And at times it is just breathtaking. Everything is so good that you just have to have them all. That's how it happens, actually.
Yes, and let's explain that that's another aspect of the business that makes La Tuileries so interesting is that, and there's the result. I mean, these are just incredible. You go to every kiln opening of what you carry in the store and choose specifically what comes out at the time that you want to carry. I mean, that is an incredible amount of work, very time consuming.
It is very time consuming because I never know when I will have to go. I never know how it's going to be because you may travel and get there. There's absolutely nothing to take back home. Well, but you just have to be there and open the kiln and then you look, and sometimes you would go reluctantly and you're overwhelmed because everything is very beautiful. Yes, you have to be there because actually I carry all those pieces. I have to buy them from the artisans and bring them to the store. So it has to reflect the quality that people expect.
Right, exactly. And I love this shot.
Well, that's a sort of one of the places I go to in Burgundy. This is not far away from the wine area in Burgundy, which is just among my favorite places to visit because that place, the whole house is very beautiful. It has an authenticity that I really like about the place, and also the wares that are made there are just, they are brimming with something so special. That's one of the
Yes,
oh,
I
you
love that.
see this. Oh, Francois, I love working with him. He is such a talented gentleman, and he does an amazing work. And his work range from a platter to a plate with different sort of decoration, all very different. So it depends on the time of the year. When I visit, sometime I'll have platters, so another time I'll have plates, and they are all very distinctive. I love these photos. I really love. It says a lot about what we do and the complexity that we have when we talk about pottery.
And of
Of course,
course, and we'll
wine.
discuss this more later, but of course, the art of the table involves everything at the table, including the wine. So that is a little bonus of your work.
Oh, definitely. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. And so this must indeed again be Burgundy.
Yes, this is in Burgundy. Yes, definitely.
Right.
I'm New Cervelle.
Okay. And now we're in Normandy with those
Yes.
classic houses. And
Oh,
this, okay. And tell us about these very, very special pieces, Eric, because these are incredible.
well, the terrain, the animal terrain which are made in Normandy, it is something which is very, I love the work by this artisan and also the pieces. It is a heritage from the folk art tradition of that part of the country. The pieces I handmade, he does that molding of the animal that he put atop the terrains. And there's a lot of work. It's something very whimsical to each pieces. To each piece that when I go to the kiln opening, it's always very overwhelming because I actually help here to unload the kiln and it is wood fired, which is very complicated. Um, there are a lot of things I like about his work because he's someone who is very, he gets an idea and he tries to work on the glazes too, because sometimes the glaze, it is wood fired. So the glazes are very different from one year to the other and from one kiln to the next. There are a lot of differences. So the end result, it's always very striking. At times it might be wonderful. Some other times it is a bit disappointing, but all the pieces, they have so much character and they are very rustic looking, but there's something special to it.
And that's another thing, is that you carry such a wide variety
Yes.
of ceramics. Some are, as you say, very rustic like this, and then later we'll see some of the things that are incredibly refined.
Yes.
And there's a phrase that you've used before that I love, which is the nobility of artisanship.
Oh.
And I think that is so apt. It truly is. And, you know, with limited production, made by hand, it's a true art. And we all appreciate that you are supporting these artisans so that we can keep these traditions going.
Thank you for noticing that, Stacey. It's very important to me, especially because we basically, La Tuileries, the people who created the store, it was all about preserving traditional craftsmanship, which were fast disappearing. And through my customer, I'm able to preserve that work because every time when a piece like this comes out of the kiln and then it goes somewhere, I allow these people to keep making things which are really wonderful and which is very specific to them. Of course, it is not something that someone else can learn how to do. It takes more than the actual apprenticeship. It takes something of your soul to put into the work. And
Exactly.
that's where part of the nobility you pointed out comes from.
Exactly, I agree. And there you are pulling out a fantastic piece straight from the kiln.
That's one of the moments where you feel like, oh, it is all worth it. Traveling
Exactly.
4 hours, getting there, it is in the winter, it is very cold and humid. And then you're standing there unloading the kiln and well, then you have something just wonderful. It's just majestic. I say where I
It
remember
is majestic.
oh yes, it is a beautiful place here. An
Yeah, it's
example.
incredible. And of
Uh,
course, it's all related. So, for example, in Normandy, they make these kind of pieces because they have a history of terrines
yes,
and
and
that kind of
cooking
food.
green.
So it's related. You know, there was another phrase I wrote down that you had said at one point, and that your work at La Tuileries represents reimagining its heritage,
Mhm.
using imagination and knowledge of the decorative arts. And that is so
Yes,
true. And it's not just knowledge of the decorative arts, but it's knowledge of l'art de vivre, the art
yes,
of living. And you can see that right here. These are pieces to use. I
definitely.
also obviously display them, but these are pieces to use in your life to elevate, you know, your joy and happiness and beauty in your life. And I love that.
Thank you very much for pointing that out, Stacey. I really appreciate what you'll be saying because you see, this is one of the examples. When I visit to Normandy, for example, I'm on the diet for about a day before I get there because we will have, this would be the table, we'll be sitting around after unloading the kiln. And you could see all those bounty that they put on the table, and we will have a terrain, then we'll have a lot of courses, and you can feel the warmth and all that sort of energy which is around the table, and I don't know how to explain it. It's just something you can feel.
I
You can
think you're
only feel it because sitting around the table for hours, then something comes, then the next, and then the next. And it's all about the terrain. You put it on the, from the kiln, you put it on the table, sorry, from the kiln to your kitchen, from the kitchen to your oven, from the oven to the table. And at first, when you use it, you might feel like, okay, I may break it. Then you get used to it.
right.
And then you get used to using it. It becomes part of your routine, especially in the winter where we have all these winter dishes, vegetables, a little bit of meat or fish, then you put in the oven with a little bit of wine, a bouquet garni, and then
Delicious.
2 hours, and then from there you put on the table and you make everybody happy. That's
It's
it.
functional art.
It's functional art. Thank you for putting, I couldn't imagine that word, functional art. That's wonderful.
Okay, so now
Uh,
we get to actually the table. And
yeah.
I actually discovered your shop, I can't remember, maybe 5 years ago now.
Mhm.
And it was everything that I love, truly. And setting the table, especially for people like me who love design and appreciate design, but who aren't designers, I can do a table. And it's like our mutual friend Charlotte Moss says, it's
Yeah,
everyday decorating.
absolutely.
I love the mix that you always do. So let's talk about right here, because you know I love these plates. They're on my wish list.
I know.
And they're very rustic. Are they Provençal?
They are Provençal, definitely. They are Provençal. Louis the 15th shape, which is like, sort of like these scallop edges, and then it has the way the color also is very specific. It comes either in the yellow or in the green, a distinctive green. At times, it may come in a rust color too. But those are the specific colors for these kind of plates which are coming from Provence.
Yeah, so beautiful. But you've elevated their rusticity with
Mm.
other elements. Your beautiful bucciolati flatware, your lovely baskets, which we can focus on later, that you feature in the store.
Uh-huh.
And now for what we spoke about before, something a little more refined. Aptware, as I
Yes.
wrote here, the elegance of French savoir-faire, which is just so true. I mean, I can't imagine anyone not loving this. Aptware is a long-lived French tradition, very specific one with very few artisans who are still making it properly, correct?
Yes,
And
absolutely.
why don't you explain what aptware is for the people who don't know? People may recognize its beautiful marbleized quality, but it's actually more specific than that.
Artware, it is something that was
See if
made
I
in,
have.
all started in the 18th century. It's a mix of different bodies of clay colored in different colors. For example, here you have 5 layers of blue, of cobalt blue in different concentration. So when you have all those layers of bodies of clay, you put them together in a very specific way. And each family who does up where they have their own recipe to do that, and they don't, it's not something you can just learn. And it is a lot of work. It is very, and the problem is that when it undergo firing, you want to avoid that the different bodies of clay separate. So that's where the difficulty starts. And also then you put it undergoes firing twice, because the first time you sort of just have a biscuit fired piece, which makes it into something which is very, it has a matte finish. Then you put the glaze, that would become like a glass. And then you have this shiny finish. So after two firings, when the piece is very good, you have this result. But if it doesn't come out looking good, then you have something terrible. And it happens very often. There's something very random about the production of artware. That's the reason why it is among the very high end of the pottery we carry at La Tuileries. A lot of people would like to have them. It is very difficult, but it is just that signature of quality. It's sort of a statement on the table. It's a refinement. It is something simple, and you can dress it up, you can dress it down, and you can use it on a daily basis, and you can, for family gatherings, for example, I would think that it would be just the perfect kind of pottery you will put out, because you want to remind the people of the values that you share together. So that would be my go-to kind of plate to put on the table on those occasions.
And here's the beautiful table you've done.
Oh my God, I love that table.
Me too. And this is a very elegant version. And actually, I'm going to share a table because I finally broke down and was thrilled to have some of your aptware from the shop. And I'll show you what I did with it later. But this is a very elegant table that you have set here. And this is something so important that I want people to understand. Aptware is not, as you explained before, but I will reinforce it, is not just a glaze. It's actually in the clay. So that's why I included this slide. You can see that the marbleizing goes through the clay, and you do carry other, which we'll see in a minute, which is just the glaze.
Yes.
But this is actually within the clay. It's a very specific process. Oh, and you know what? I just remembered I was supposed to say in my introduction, for those of you, we'll be doing a Q&A at the end. And for those of you who have questions, at the bottom of your screen, bottom right part of your screen, you will see a place for questions, and you can enter your questions there, and we will answer them later. Sorry that I forgot to say that. Okay. And as you say, suitable for any occasion. So here's a fantastic example with the beautiful toile in the background.
Yes.
And one of the things that I should say about you that I can also say about Pierre Frey is that you look back to move forward.
Definitely. Thank you for saying so. I like the idea of looking back to move forward, because there are a lot of things people did back then, and with very limited resources, they came up with beautiful ideas. And when you put them on the table today, or you use it in the work process, it gives you that strength, that confidence, and also it anchors the work into something which is really important, because it has an heirloom quality. It has something, I don't know, it's a visual to me. It's a visual thing. When you look it together, it all ties in. And looking
Eric,
at
you actually have, you are usually quite modest, but you actually have a great knowledge of the history of decorative arts, and you're always educating yourself. It's something that we all advocate for everyone in the design industry, and it's also applicable for the art of the table. Everything has more meaning, more depth, more veritas when you know the history, and you can take the history and move it forward, like you've used these very modern glasses here. There's
Yes.
another phrase that I love that you always use, which is adaptation and creativity.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what it's all about. You don't want to be mired in the past. You want to use the heritage and use the great history so that it's appropriate for today. So here's a more modern setting using the aptware. This is stunning.
I love it. Here I mixed aptware pottery with sterling silver, and here there's a little nod to the 19th century, where I use this specific sterling silver because it has the eggshell. It has the color just specific to that era, the shape, the Louis XV shape, and everything. Yet I try to mirror it into the future, because I use linen and also use a couple of elements that will show you that we are today using those pieces which are not stuck in the past, and you can still use them, and you play around with a couple of other items you may have at home to put them into, to make them into something that would appeal to you today, in either in a modern house or in a very modern looking house, sorry, contemporary looking house, or in a very traditional looking house. It would work.
Right. And
Oh.
here's some more combinations that I love that you did. I think you did this almost, did you do this one as a July 4th homage?
Yes, July 4th. That was July 4th last year. Last year,
Exactly.
yes.
So, I mean, I think this is a perfect Franco-American combo
Which
here,
is
and just
and
beautiful.
you look at what it is here, and I like that somebody pointed out something which I really admire. I really like. I didn't intend to do that, but it worked perfectly, because you could see the napkins, they have these very small squares, and then it opens up on the tablecloth, which is a little bigger, and then you have the blue here using a faience, which is so beautiful. I love that decoration on the plates.
Yes, it's beautiful.
It's all together, I don't know. And then the flowers.
We'll talk about flowers in a minute.
Yes.
But you know, as you said about the little window pane squares here, tabletop is a mini version of design, and scale counts here too.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ceci. Thank you for saying so. Oh.
Okay, so now here's the marbleware, and this is just a glaze, correct?
No. Here in the marbleware, it is the color as steel. The marbleware, it's sort of an heritage from the artware. It is the same technique here. You have separate bodies of clay which are put together. The glaze, I will show you later on. We'll go on a piece where you'll see that it's just in the glaze. Here, it is just as intricate as the artware here. The colors are inside the clay.
Oh,
so
okay, my mistake, yeah.
Yes, it
is. So explain what the difference between the marbleware and the aptware is.
You can see that here it is very loose. The pattern is very loose, whereas the pattern on the aptware is a repetition. It's a more very traditional work where you sort of put things together. You take a little bit of chunk of white here, then a little bit of this.
It's more deliberate.
The blue, and then you open it up. It takes a while to put the whole thing together, and then you begin to cut and use it as you go. Whereas here, you sort of mix the colors together, and then you roll it out, and you hope for the best, because sometimes it will come out looking a little bit plain with no character.
I love this coloration.
I love the balance.
This is so beautiful. I mean, just so beautiful. Well, I love learning something new. I learned something new today. So the aptware is a little more deliberate.
Yes.
And the marbleware is a little more random.
Yes, it is very random. You never know. Actually, at the kiln opening, when I'm looking for the marbleware, well, something will have just a perfect shape, but you look at the plates, it doesn't say much. You can see that after a while, if I put it at the store, for example, 2 days later, my question would be, what is it doing there? Because it is lacking that life, that thing that sort of grabs your attention. So I have to be careful about those little details, but sometimes it's although it is very loose, you could see that the pattern is going somewhere. It has this very modern looking feel that would look maybe like a cloud in the sky. But personally, I like the paisley looking ones when it is more dense, and you can see that like here.
This one is quite dense.
I like it when it is dense. That's my own. I have a lot of clients that prefer when it's more loose because it goes in a modern house.
Well, and that's I'm sorry, that's something else I should say, and that you deal, and I don't want to take too much time, we have 50 million slides to get through, but you interact with your customers extremely personally.
Well, it's important. This is something, Stacey, I meant to talk to you about it like on a very different topic, which is like in the current market, the thing that I feel myself is that I need that connection with the customers, because at La Tuileries, we deal with a very limited number of clients, but the thing I need to provide that service, which is like, I want to add my ideal would be to go back to the 50s or the 60s when you could go in a couture house, in an haute couture house, and it's just an atelier. And then you talk to the people, and then they will come up with something, and then they will look to that spark in your eye, which says, okay, we did it. And that's the thing I like about my work here. It is all about providing service. When I know the client, sometimes I'll tell them, oh, well, you saw that on social media. It's a wonderful piece, but I don't think that you want to go in that direction. Give me a couple of days. I'll have something else for you. And then we'll come back with that idea and tell them that based on everything that we looked at before, and I have my note here that tells me that you like these other things and we talked about it. I think this is just the right thing you want to have at home.
So
Oh,
not only is the actual pottery bespoke, but your service is bespoke. And I can speak to that personally because you have said to me before, no, I don't think that's right for you. Here's something that I think works better. So that's an amazing aspect of your business. So this one's fantastic.
I want people to come back. That's how you get them the attention. And here, oh my God, this table setting, pattern on pattern on pattern on
Which
pattern.
you know I love.
Well,
So
it is just,
that's a really
I don't know
beautiful table.
it's where your imagination takes you. Sometimes it will be just like a fabric you see somewhere, or you see a photo somewhere and you react to it and you say, okay, well, I like this idea, but how about doing the opposite? And then you begin to do a little research and then you put things together. You make color flurries and then you start there and then you drive people crazy because you want them to understand the vision. And I'm not very easy to work. I'm not really very easy to work because I know exactly what I have an idea.
Oh, here's some more. It's just to show the wide variety of marbleware.
Here again, Stacey, thank you for this transition here. We went from marbleware to marbled pottery. Here, the color are in the glaze. So it is just like the paper that you use for book binding, the paper that is made in Venice, which is sort of, they put the colors on water with a little bit of oil so that the color would stay at the surface. And then they will sort of grab the colors with the plates. And you have to be very apt to do that. You have to learn a way to, you pick up the colors on the plate and then the stays, and then you let them dry, then you do the first firing, then the second. Here, for example, if I break one of these plates, the inside is the terracotta color. It will be red like the terracotta, but here the colors are inside the glaze. That's a major difference with the plate that we looked at before. So this is just marbled, where the other one is different. This is marbleware. Yes, the colors are inside the clay. Here it is in the glaze. It's a colored.
What is the terminology? So the other is called marbleware. What would you call this?
Yes. I would just call it marble pottery because it is still the marble effect, but the difference for me is that it is just two very different techniques.
Okay.
Equally random, but here, of course, you need those moments because that's how you can feel the interest of what you just purchased. When you have them at home, it has to look like this. During lockdown, you want to have these moments at time, and when you gather all those pieces at home, you can manage to create this moment where you feel like, okay, I am happy to be here in the moment. And you can just build those moments using this kind of little pieces that you may have at hand at home.
I love these little dishes, of which I have several. And they're good for everything. They're good not only for on the table for aperitifs or, you know, whatever you want to use them for, but I keep one on my bedside for my earrings. They're really multi-purpose pieces. And I also want to stress what you just mentioned, lockdown, that in these times, the art of the table has become even more important, I think. I think people are really rejoicing and about being in their homes and appreciating their homes even more. And here's some more of the marbled.
Of the table. This is here we went back to the marbleware here. And yes, at home, I believe during the lockdown, and when I set a table, it's not about something that I think I definitely need to buy to be able to make just the perfect table setting. You look around, you may come up with a table, a bed linen because it has just the perfect pattern that you put on the table, and then you build from there, put little things, and then you just allow yourself to be creative and come up with different ideas, and you can change. You have a couple of tools at hand. I love this yellow and
I do too. It's so elegant.
I love this place.
Go ahead.
It allows me to think a little bit of Yves Saint Laurent and Pierre Berger. They bought similar plates at La Tuileries years ago, and I just loved the place. I remember going at Sotheby's trying to buy the same set of plates that came from during the sale, the Pierre Berger sale, and I couldn't afford it. So when I got back to the store, I decided to have a new one made, and I came up with this beautiful setting of yellow and black. And it has something which is very distinctive, and you want to go bold when you get something like this, and then you put it on the table. It makes a statement. It becomes something like, okay, this is me. And that's what I love about those plates.
More.
Oh,
and so we should add that it's not just plates. It's not just plates and dishes. It's vases, it's terrines.
It's vases, terrine, you can have, you also have containers and different things.
I just noticed the time. We have to keep moving. So let's go through the Alpine pottery, which, as you know, is one of my favorites.
I know the Alpine pottery, wonderful here.
And this is from Alsace, yes?
No, this is from the Alps here, which is south from Alsace. It is the eastern side of France, the border with Switzerland and Germany. So here, basically, we are in the mountain in the French Alps, where on the other side you have Switzerland, and then a bit south you have Italy. But here it is made in the mountain. I love this work, which is very intricate. The decoration is time consuming and the result is always magnificent.
I just love these.
When you look at it.
I love these. These are some of my very favorites. These terrines are incredible.
Thank you.
Just incredible. Okay, we have to keep moving because I have to show everything. And they're wonderful to mix and match, as you can see.
Yes.
Any time of year. I love the
this year we are in Alsace now with this pattern here. And I want to mention that this is one of the pierre fraise fabric that I use to set the table, and one of my very favorite pattern, which is called Saint Léger in blue and red.
Rapinier, yes?
Yes.
I mean, and there's another one. In fact, I have a version of this same pierre fraise pattern that I use at Christmas, which I love. And these are so festive, perfect for the holidays.
Indeed.
Okay, so we have to quickly talk about these animals because these are some of the most unique pieces that you have in the shop.
Yes, it is the most unique. And sadly, after my recent visit, I'm noticing that we almost at the end of a production because the people make it. Yes, they're definitely, unfortunately, I don't know how long it will take. I love the plate. It's a work of art. It's a painting.
It's a work of art.
It's definitely a very strong statement plate. It's a lot of work. It takes a lot of work, and you never know what you're gonna get here. And also, I want to mention that the painting is made using iron oxide, and the iron oxide, they actually reveal the end color during a chemical reaction during firing. So you don't know exactly what you will get.
That's incredible. I did not know that.
Yeah, it's a very intricate work.
And these I love.
Oh, of course, the marine wear.
Yeah,
it's it is very sought after here at La Tuileries. We love them, and we love setting table using them because it's always mesmerizing. It grabs people's attention, and it makes a strong statement on the table. I love those pieces.
More animals in all sorts. We have to keep moving.
Oh, all sorts of animals
so
here.
Charming.
Oh, I love those planters. Beautiful pieces.
So, and nature is always the inspiration, whether it's in the pottery, whether it's the flowers, and now we have to talk very quickly because we're running out of time about the beautiful baskets you carry. Do you want to explain about them quickly?
Yes, about the basket, I work with 5 different basket weavers. Each have their own distinct style. And I like some because, for example, the miniature, which is very time consuming and it is very difficult. It takes much more time because you have to focus on choosing the kind of willow that you'll be using to do the work. And then the size is important here. The quality is important. And then the work. Also, when you have a hand like mine doing all those intricate little details inside, it's just crazy. But when you look at the result, it's really something. That's the thing
really exquisite
about this basket. And then another basket weaver does these here it is the haute couture of basket, the image on the right hand side. the detail, the way he does the weaving, it's just amazing. It is something I decided to showcase here. In the past, we used to have here, or something important to mention is that they removed the back on the wicker here in the willow to be able to have this sort of white finish, which is naturally it has a different color. It might look green or it might look a little bit brown, but I like the fact that with this light color, it matches a lot of interiors, and that's the reason we've been doing a lot of this.
Okay, and we are, Eric, you and I are too chatty. So flowers are a huge inspiration for you.
Yes.
And they're, as I said here, they're an integral part of the art of the table. And your flowers are just exquisite. And look at that. In a beautiful
container, in marble way container, yes, and I use, well, they're a big inspiration. Having flowers at home at all times, I think it sort of gives that sense of you are somewhere. And instead, when you don't have a garden, you have flowers at home, it indicates how the time is flying and how you could see every day you want to water them, you take care of it, and then you cut the colors. It's just more creativity. And I like that about having bouquets around all the time.
Yeah, beautiful, and beautiful combination here.
The combination, of course, it's all about the container, because a bouquet for me is just a perfect balance between the container and the flowers.
Exactly.
So I never imagine a bouquet without the containers. I see the containers and I decide how I'm going to make it work. Or I may have flowers and I go back home. I try to find just the perfect container for that specific bouquet.
I remember when you went to get these peonies.
Yes.
It was quite the haul, and beautifully, I mean, really exquisitely displayed. And these square
planters, and the wicker planters that the cachepot that I had made, because I wanted something. The inspiration came from to me from the caisse d'orangerie that we see at Versailles, and I thought having small ones, the small versions on the table, it was just something elegant, and it brings a level of sophistication with something natural and simple that you could put on the table, or on, I mean, you can use them everywhere.
Yes, so it's true. Your inspiration for the store, for your tables, comes from everywhere. I know that because I know you and I follow you, and I think this is a great piece of advice for everyone. You're design, as I think it was Diana Vreeland said, design is autobiography. And I think this is true for the table too. Your table should represent what you love, you, and everything you love and know. And I think that's so true for you. And I included this because I strongly suspect that this happened after you went to Scotland.
Yes, yes. You travel, you see things. I look at the tweet, I needed to bring the tweet at home, and then I put it on the table. I just have this reflection of, it says a lot about traveling. It says a lot about trying to have all those tools at home that you put together to bring it into something. And when you share this, you are able to show that because you already have your colors in your eye, when you get somewhere, you just figure out the pattern that will work for you. And here it was an example. Thank you for choosing this photo. I love it.
Yes. Okay, so here is my table that I did for our talk with my new aptware that I am so in love with. And with that classic Pierre Frey Braconnier pattern, Grand Corail, which is more known,
color, which is stunning.
Thank you, Eric.
I love the combination.
Thank you, Eric. Which is more known, I think, in a red colorway, but I love this colorway. And I should also point out that the little pattern on the left for the napkins is a Luminac pattern that I love. And also this fabric, and I'm sure you do this also, this fabric is not that wide. So Kim Hubner, who runs the marketing in the US for Pierre Frey and runs the New York showroom, had a very clever idea when I was making this tablecloth. She helped me organize it. So we pieced it together and used the border, which hangs over. So it was wide enough for my table. And I also want to say that while my aptware is blue and white, this shows how you can transition it for fall.
Definitely.
Okay, I want to move on to your table that you did for our talk. And here's a little video that you made of your table. a little short video so we can see. And you also chose a beautiful braconnier pattern.
Braconnier, yeah, papillon exotique in crème.
And you used that beautiful.
Here again, I use a alpine pottery in tan and also in dark brown. I like, well, it just a little improvisation of a table, using the basket too on the table, the basket from Perigord that I had made to be able to use them as bread basket.
And so here's some pictures of the table so you can all see how Eric incorporated so many different things. And I love this mix with the beautiful bird terrine, which is a completely different style, but works with the alpine pottery, and the tiny little bread baskets, which are mignon.
That's just the words. Exactly. C'est mignon. C'est vrai.
And also, I wanted to point out the flatware, which is very modern. So, go ahead.
Yes, please, excuse me. I use the modern flatware here because I wanted just to stress the idea that you can use different things at home. Of course, I could have chosen something which is more 19th century or use something which is more very modern looking. Here, it's something like the horn handle for the cutlery was the beginning of my composition. I thought that would work very well on this table. And then I wanted the focus for me are the plates and the terrine in the middle. So I needed something who would sort of tone it down a little bit, not to sort of compete too much with the plate. That's the reason why I decided to choose this specific silverware.
Okay, I love it.
Thank you.
So we're going to finish up our talk with this exquisite few slides. This was of an event that you did with, I think, with Sabine, yes?
Yes, with Sabine. Yes, I did this.
Sabine
Yes, I did this event with Sabine Wolfman 2 years ago. That was in January, and the idea was to gather during Maison et Objets et Paris Déco Off in Paris. We were sort of having a lot of designer or people from the design community visiting in Paris. We gathered them here in a beautiful mansion where we set a table and have them to enjoy something that was both modern and classic and in a beautiful setting, and it was a beautiful celebration of life, definitely.
So I think that these are the three words when I think of you: authenticity, quality, and consistency. That is everything that you do, Eric, with such incredible style and elegance. And this is, and oh, there's my plates. I forgot, I didn't notice that.
Yes, actually you have both the plates. I mean, you have those plates.
Exactly.
I remember exactly when you chose them, and then with the aptware.
I actually didn't choose that because of that, but I own both the splatterware and the aptware.
That's wonderful.
And so I want to thank you so much, Eric. Today was just such a treat for me. And you are really the epitome of l'art de vivre.
Merci infiniment. C'est gentil.
So I think now we're going to open it up to questions.
Yes.
If that is correct. I hope I do this correctly. Hold on. And let me see.
I have.
Okay. So, so we have some questions here.
Yes.
Okay, this is actually from Kim Hubner at Pierre Frey. She wants to know whether you only select from what your artists create, or do you also direct the design sometimes?
Well, I may direct the design sometimes because I come up with an inspiration. I tell them a story. I'm always telling them stories. I have this fantasy, I have this dream. And then I sort of explain the dream, and then they will come up with ideas, and then we'll look through those ideas. There's a little bit of a back and forth when I have that kind of idea, and then they will come up with something. And at times we have a beautiful end product, but it doesn't always happen that way because all of the artisans I work with, they're more artists than artisans. So they have their own idea of how things should be done.
Okay, and let's see. That was Kim. Oh, someone is asking, and okay, I'm going to skip that. Um, oh, oh, oh. Oh, okay. I'm seeing notes from people that, are behind the scenes. And people are saying, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Oh, and this is from Melissa Wilson, who put us together for this lovely chat. And she would like you to speak about the importance of glassware. And she noticed that you don't particularly like plain glasses. And what is your advice for pairing them with the plates?
Well, the thing, I will always stay away from generic glasses. That's the thing. I mean, oftentimes I see these very beautiful table settings, and then you see the glass, you can see it is coming, it is just plain glass. I mean, at home, when you can afford it, you want to have beautiful heirloom quality glasses, because when you put them on the table, it actually bring that anchor. It actually make your table your own. It sort of brings something very important. That's the reason why pairing glasses, you may as well buy something. I mean, at antique store, you would find beautiful glasses that you put them on the table. They will bring something very special, definitely. So my advice would be to stay away from generic glasses.
Okay. Oh, someone wrote a note to both of us saying that they love to follow both of us on Instagram, and she always finds your tables inspiring, and that she has visited your shop and can't wait to travel again and visit you. Her name is Christina.
Thank you so very much, Christina.
Okay, and someone asked about why, is it a French tradition, or why you place the forks with the tines down?
Yes, it is a French tradition. And if I don't do it like that, I will be receiving a lot of DM from French people asking me why I'm doing that. We are very specific when it comes to those details on the table. There are sort of there are a set of rules. People, they just notice them and they want things to be done just so. So I try to follow them myself. And oftentimes there's a little design on the back too. You want to see that little design, which is the reason why you put it like that. You can see it's part of the decoration of the table. So you don't want to miss that.
Exactly. Okay, and someone else wants to know, where do you start when creating a table? Do you start with the plates? Do you start with the tablecloth? Do you start with the flower? Where do you usually start?
I don't think I start from it depends on the focus of my table. I mean, sometimes you have these glasses, you just want to use the glasses, and then you start with the glasses, and then you try to pair the glasses with something else. And pairing doesn't mean making them look alike. It might be creating a contrast. I prefer the contrast than actually trying to make them match.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Okay, let me go through. Hold on. Oh, and one thing we didn't address that someone is asking, is how people order from you. And I actually can answer this question. Well, I'll let you answer it.
Well, I think through social media, when people look, it's where you can actually have a kind of an inventory of what we have at La Tuileries, because the stock rotates so fast that we don't have a catalog here, and it is very difficult for us to have a retail website. The only way will be to follow carefully and to always read the caption under the photos. You will have the information there. When something is available to purchase, we always specify that, so you can just send an email. I would rather use the email because it allows us to give all the information you need at once. In the same email, we provide the photos, the measurement, we code shipping, we give you all the information you need to know. So it is better. Through DM, it just doesn't work for us.
Right, so it's essentially people following you on Instagram.
Yes, definitely.
So if you follow La Tuileries on Instagram, you can, Eric is always posting beautiful pieces from the store. Then you do not DM him and do not reply in the comment, but email La Tuileries at info@latuileries.com. Specify your questions, and Eric gives incredibly comprehensive answers.
Thank you.
Welcome. Oh, and they're asking, may designers order from his website? Okay, so we just explained that. And how would you, another question is that, oh, I lost it. Oh, and Eric, I have a question while I try and find the other one. Do you still carry any tablecloths in the shop?
Not really. I have a couple. Yes, I do. Beauvillé tablecloths. I have a couple of Beauvillé tablecloths at La Tuileries, and even if the tablecloths from Beauvillé are not available, I can source them for clients, definitely. But the rest of the linen I have are mostly vintage, and it's very difficult to have them. Uh, and I think it's sort of like I can help people through all the experience of shopping at La Tuileries. I can point people just to the right sources to have the linen that they may need for their table settings. When
But you
I
also
have,
do, right, and you also do consultation, I
yes,
should add. So you
yes,
can help people with anything in regards to the table. You can point them in the direction of flatware and glassware.
definitely. Oh, absolutely.
I
Thank you.
mean, you have a full knowledge of the entire range. Um, okay, here's another one. Okay, so when setting the table, do you make sure that the flower arrangements, do not block the view of the person sitting across the table?
Okay, it is there's always a balance, Stacy. Of
Yeah.
course, that's the intention. But at times I just go overboard.
Yeah.
And it may happen that it doesn't really, it will block the view. But of course, when I can manage, I will always make sure that it doesn't. Of course,
But
yes.
sometimes it's also just the table is also almost like a piece of art for
It's a
presentation.
presentation.
Right.
Yes.
It's
And
not
it's just the
necessarily
grammar
designing.
enhances the experience. So when you
Right.
create that grammar, it's just part of the experience, definitely.
Okay. And someone else wants to know the process of marbling the china. I don't think they mean marble ware, but I think they mean, and they can chime in again, I'll keep a look, but the glazed one.
The glaze one, the process is very close to that of the paper marble paper, which is basically on water. They put the color. They first put a little bit of oil, then they put the colors, and then with a feather or different tools, they try to create a design, and then they put the piece on top, and then they take it out, and then the piece will absorb that design, which you created on the surface of water. Yes.
Okay. And someone else is asking, what is the difference, do you think, about the between French, the way the French set the tables and the way the Americans set the tables?
Well, I think the Americans are more free. They're free. They can use a lot of different things. And we have a lot of things to look at, to consider when we're setting the table more than often. In France, the way the aesthetic point of view of all the items that you put on the table. Nobody would put Art Deco with something different because, of course, people will let you know. We are very opinionated in France, and people will let you know. But in the US, I noticed that people are more free. They don't care about that. So my answer is in the middle. I try to be inspired by both sort of the way of setting the tables. So I'm in the middle personally. Yes, I feel that way.
Okay. Another question about the baskets.
Yes.
Okay, so they were asking, can the baskets be used for individual bread, be used all year or just certain seasons? I would say, of course, all year.
Of course, all year. I mean, of course.
And now that I know the basket production is well, all your production is very limited. That's what makes it very special.
Yes.
But what, how often do you get the baskets?
I never know. For example, I'm expecting some miniature basket, and they were due in September. And all of a sudden, because I work with artists, the idea of time frame and deadline is not something that I used to, and they really don't care. So with all of a sudden, and I found out last minute that it was pushed out, and I don't know when I'll have the basket. Probably sometime in November, because he's been busy working in his garden. That's the reason, really.
Right. And people are asking about the tablecloths and about the fabrics. And, you know, you are not just limited to buying tablecloths in a shop, especially designers who have access to all these beautiful fabrics. Many of my tablecloths, and I'm sure yours too, Eric, are made from textiles from manufacturers like Pierre Frey.
You need to be inspired from those things. I mean, when you work in a showroom, you see a pattern you like, you just buy it. and you're sure that someday it will come in handy. You will sort of say, oh, this is just a perfect, it is in season, or when it is timeless, you just put it on the table. And it is the beginning, you tell a story, a whole different story using that linen. So
Exactly.
fabric
And you know what? I didn't say that. And of course, it is just like everything else. It's all about the story.
yes,
You have an image in your head of the story you want to tell at your table.
yes, definitely.
And that is one of the elements. Okay, we have more. Oh dear. Someone's saying, I know it's hard to choose, but if you had to, which piece is the most exciting to select for a lovely table? That's almost like choosing
Okay,
between
yes, you, I don't know how I can help you with that.
yeah,
I mean, you too. And you
yeah,
would change your mind every day.
yeah, exactly. And someone else is asking how, if you use designer fabrics, how you keep your linens clean. I have mine dry cleaned. You could
At
also,
home, I will use them. I don't have, I may have them dry cleaned, and the other possibility is that I use soap from the kitchen for the stain. You put a little bit, the minute people leave the table, I will
right.
use a little bit of soap and water, and then I soak it for a little while, and then it just goes through the machine, and then the washer, maybe one or twice, and then it is good. It works.
Oh, okay. That's great. My problem is I don't have it's on my wish list, one of those big rotary irons. That's
Oh,
what
I
I would
see.
like.
Yes, I see what you mean. I want the Swedish mango. That's one of the
That's
things I
what I'm
would
talking
like.
about.
I mean, I would love that one day.
Me too. Actually, Miele makes a fantastic one.
I
Um,
saw that in California once.
okay, here's a good question for you. They're saying your tables are a visual feast, which of course I couldn't agree with more. And do you have any plans for a book?
Yes, I do. I'm hoping to make some time soon to be able to focus on the books because a lot of the photos are already out there on social media, but I have backup photos that I would use, of course, for the book. And moreover, it would not be just about the table setting. My idea when I do a book would be to explain the spiritual part of setting the table. It is something so personal. It gives Yves Saint Laurent help women to become freer with their clothes. And I think something that would be my goal in life would be to help not just women, but everybody to unleash that creativity in themselves, to be able to do something. You learn a set of rules, and every day you just make something different depending on your creativity that day. I mean, that's something important. It will allow people to get together. And right now, when we are in different times, it comes in very handy. So yes.
And it's definitely a creative outlet. I find setting the table an incredible creative outlet.
Exactly. Exactly. I agree.
And then here's another question. Have you ever considered doing travel tours of some of the artisans' studios?
No, because that would be a lot of work. And I don't think they want that attention. Those people are they're artists. They have the inner world and they like to stay there. They each created a sort of a Harvard, something very personal where they feel it's a sanctuary.
Right.
Living in there, they allow me in, and sometimes I have to be a different person depending on the artist I visit because it depends on their mood, it depends on a lot of things. And they chose that life because they were not able to live a different life, really.
Right. And exactly. It's a passion and a many artists don't have a choice. That it chooses them.
Definitely.
Okay, and I think we're going to wrap up. People are asking the name of the Pierre Frey fabrics we each used on our table. So what did you use again?
Well, today I use Saint Paul. This is a Le Manac. The very first photo, it was Saint Paul in
I think
red.
they want to know the one at the end of the.
At the end, oh, the one, oh, that's Papillon Exotique. Papillon Exotique in crème. I love that one. That's my recent purchase at Pierre Frey. It is a braconnier though, braconnier, and it is called Papillon Exotique.
And mine
Yes.
is also braconnier, and it's called Grande Corail.
In Mort Doré.
What's that?
Mort Doré, that's a color.
Oh, thank you. Okay, I did not know that. Okay, and another question. Okay, how do you store? And this is the last question. How do you store your dishes and linens? Do you have any suggestions? And before you answer, I want to add that whenever and I wish I had one here, I should have had one. Maybe you have one handy. Whenever you order from La Tuile à Lou, Eric includes these beautiful little. Do you have one there?
Yes, I have one here. Let me open the, I will find
Okay.
one.
I will explain it, and Eric will be back to show you in a second. Oh, there it is.
Here.
He includes these wonderful little flannel scalloped pieces that you put between your dishes so they don't scratch.
Absolutely.
But how else,
Absolutely.
any other advice for storing your dishes?
Well, I think you want to keep them at hand. I'm one of those people who prefer an open sort of an open cabinet where you can see them, because that's how you remember that you have these. And then when you just walk in, you feel like, okay, you grab these plates and then you put them on the table. When they come out of the washer, you sort of just put them together. You may put a plate on top of that. It depends on how, if you have a lot of room to be able to store them that way. Otherwise, you always figure out at home a way to put by set. And it depends, or something very important that I always do, that's actually a tip. I do a rotation. When they come out of the washer, I put them underneath the pile so that I bring the new one from one to the, also,
that's a very good suggestion.
that's why you have a sort of an equal patina over
Right.
time. It's very important, something you may know, because otherwise you will have 4 plates which are very, very, and then you have the rest, they look like brand new. So I don't want that to happen.
That's a very good suggestion. And linens, I can say, one of my favorite way, and I just moved into a much smaller house, so I don't know if I'm going to have room, but I like storing my linens on very fat. You can get them from many dry cleaning places. They have hangers that have a fat roller.
Oh,
and that's my favorite way to store them, but I don't know if I'll have enough room.
I roll mine. I roll them on the stick. Basically, when I buy fabric, for example, from Pierre Frey, you see they come on the, or from other, they always have these, and I roll them around it because I want to keep them flat. Of course, when you can, it sort of save that 10 minutes of pressing very hard to remove.
And of course, I don't do that, which is why mine always are showing creases. Anyway, Eric, thank you so much. It was such a treat. I want to thank ADAC. I want to thank Pierre Frey, who is in the Jim Thompson showroom at ADAC. And of course, dear Eric, I want to thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, all of you, because you made my day today. Thank you so very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.